Guys, welcome to the Bourbon Basement. Happy Friday the 13th. Am I going to have a scary movie marathon tonight or anything like that? Because I know I'm not. I'm not a scary movie fan. But I remember those Friday the 13th movies, and now when I go back and watch them, they're all kind of cheesy. But anyway, we're here to talk some bourbon. So you can see I'm alone. So I've already started with some technical difficulties. Ryan did show me how to change the title on this. So when I did that, it all crashed and I had to reload. That's why I'm like a minute late. And it didn't have the startup screen. So that's live right there. So anyway, I do apologize again. I'm alone tonight. I knew Ryan had to work, but I thought he was going to swing by when he got off, and I thought he would be here by now. So anyway, it's just me. I didn't get a co-host. I wish I did because I think this show is way better with a co-host. And even though my producer's sitting back there, she's camera shy. She doesn't like to come this way. But if you all go to the Port St. Joe episode, you'll get a quick glimpse of her at the very beginning when we're having some camera issues because we used the phone to record that. Got some comments. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday, both everybody that commented there. Uh, we're going to do a pretty good bourbon today, guys. And the reason we're doing it is because the bottle's almost empty. And I need to do a show on it before it gets that way. I had a whole show planned. It was on the Michter's 10 year. It was for two people. And since Ryan didn't show up or isn't here, kind of went real quick, switched my train of thought and picked a bottle up there that's almost empty. We hadn't done a show on yet. And it ended up being the E.H. Taylor, Colonel E.H. Taylor barrel proof. So we're going to have a good bourbon here today. I do have some more to talk about that. But right now, guys, I think when I'm alone, this show is always better when you're drinking. So go ahead and pour yourself a drink. If you have E.H. Taylor or you have a Buffalo Trace product, go ahead and put that. If you have something with welcome back, Neophyte, E.H. Taylor, some good whiskey. Yes, it is. Looked like a banger of an episode. All right, Corey. Cheers, Mrs. Producer. All right, guys.
And Goose Master. Goose Master said, "Let's go."
Goose Master says, "Let's go." I missed that one. Yeah, thank you, babe. You're gonna have to.
When your face says, "Cheers, Miss Producer," and I say, "Cheers back."
She says, "Cheers back." If you didn't hear her there, so bottle kill. That's right. Weller foolproof. Oh, Weller foolproof tonight over there. Are you? He's doing a bottle kill too. Corey,
Nice.
So we're right on the same page now. But anyway, I hope that it's still going to be a little entertaining. I hope that we get some comments. I hope that I can put you through history. But I did. So I've already done a show on the H. Taylor Small Batch. That was one of our early episodes. So if y'all want to see me a little thinner and Ryan a little prettier, you can go back a couple years almost and pick that early episode up. We're recording with Ryan's phone then, and I think it's better.
I do too.
I think the sound and everything's better. I might go back to Ryan's phone actually, and seriously, but I think it's better. But you can go back and Ryan doesn't. Ryan doesn't like it.
I don't know. You look pretty good on here.
But anyway, fresh pop here, Heaven Hill bottled in bond. All right,
nice.
That's always a good one.
Yes,
But it's one of our favorites here at the Bourbon Basement. That's 7 year bottled in bond, and for a good price.
Yes.
But you can go back and watch that Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch episode. We're both a little younger. We're both newbies, and we're still kind of getting it. I'm still getting it together. I still don't have it together. But there wasn't some camera stuff then. There was no camera faults. We just didn't have microphones, but it sounded better, I thought. Anyway,
there's a lot of comical things going on there.
Let's get into kind of what we're going to do here. We know we're going to do the barrel proof. We know why. Let's get into. Did I talk about? Let's get into the man. So Colonel E.H. Taylor. This line is all about honoring Colonel E.H. Taylor. All right, and when we go to Colonel, that is not a military rank. That is a title. That's a civil award for the Kentucky Colonel. And I jumped down a rabbit hole today on some Kentucky Colonels, and I found it really interesting. And I'm going to tell you all some other Kentucky Colonels. I bet you all know the most famous Kentucky Colonel. Anyway, if you all know the most famous Kentucky Colonel or the very first Kentucky Colonel that you all think of, go ahead and comment in the comments over here because I bet you'll get it right. But what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about E.H. Taylor, the man, why he's honored with the bourbon. Uh, Sanders, that is correct, Bourbon Neophyte. Very, probably the very first one you thought of, right? Yep. He is definitely a now, and this is why I kind of jumped down the rabbit hole. I thought a Kentucky Colonel had to be awarded to a Kentucky, a citizen of Kentucky, like someone that was born in or someone that lived in, a resident of Kentucky. That is wrong. There's Kentucky Colonels in every state and in 70 countries. Wow. So I didn't know that. So that was something that was kind of cool. So, and I'll tell you, I'll go ahead and tell you. Kentucky Colonel is, let me find it now in my notes. I'm throwing myself off because I'm going, it is the highest honor bestowed by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is a lifetime appointment, and it is for noteworthy accomplishments of service to your community, your state, or your nation. So they're in 70 countries, 50 states. Didn't know that. I thought a Kentucky Colonel had to be Kentucky. You know, it had to be a Kentucky resident. But it is wrong. So, yeah. And you do have to be 18 years old. And I'll just spoiler alert: one of the Kentucky Colonels turned 18, got nominated or got awarded his Kentucky Colonelship, I guess you would call it, and then went on that week to win the U.S. Amateur Open at the age of 18. Does anybody know who that is? Neophyte, can you come in there with that one? So he was awarded a Kentucky Colonel. The same week he won the U.S. Amateur Championship at the age of U.S. Golf Amateur Championship at the age of 18. That he is a Kentucky Colonel, and I thought there'd be like big ceremonies and stuff for this. I guess it's not. Yeah, think about that for a minute. But you'll hear it later if y'all don't get it. But anyway, let's talk about Colonel E.H. Taylor. So Colonel E.H. Taylor, he was a man with, he was just a larger than life character. All right. He dressed that way. He acted that way. He had a genius IQ and a large ego, from what everybody says. And I think that IQ with that ego kind of got him in trouble. Okay. Because back in 1869, he bought a distillery called Leestown Distillery. All right. By 1873, he had already tore down that whole distillery and started rebuilding uh, a new distillery. So everything was new in 1873, and he called that the Old Fire Copper Distillery. Now, the Old Fire Copper also could be called the Old Fashioned Copper Distillery. So historians go by Old Fire Copper because they say that's what Colonel E.H. Taylor did, was all the copper he used. It was fired copper. That's what he used to make his bourbon. So they called it Old Fire Copper. That's historians. Buffalo Trace says it's Old Fashioned Copper, and it goes to the history in the way that he, traditional method that he made, the old fashioned, the traditional method he made bourbon. So you can debate all you want which one it's called. I'm going with Old Fire Copper because that's what the historians say. And who can believe Buffalo Trace? Anyway, I love Buffalo Trace, their products and everything, but I don't think they're always truthful to us. So anyway, uh, anyway, so he did that. He's a very smart man. He had many accomplishments in the bourbon industry. They included in his Old Fire Copper distillery, the modern distillery. It was a distillery that it was his. I don't know what it was called. It was his, like, what he wanted, his model distillery, what he thought every distillery should have been like. All right, so he had copper fermentation tanks. All right, I don't think those are still there, but they were copper fermentation tanks way back in the late 1800s. He used column steels instead of pot steels and stuff like that back then. He used the column steel, and he uh, steam heated his warehouses. So the steam heat, what he wanted to do. So everybody knows when bourbon is aging, when it gets hot, it goes into the barrel. When it gets cold, it comes out of the barrel. And the more it heats up and the more it cools down, the more barrel taste it has. And the quicker, I guess you could call it aged, the quicker it's aged, right? Uh, so he steam heated it in the wintertime. So when it was so cold in those warehouses, he would heat that stuff up, get it sucked up in those barrels, and then he would turn the heat off, let it cool back down, and then he'd heat it up again. He did that all winter long, so it continued to age his bourbon. And Buffalo Trace still uses that today. They still use those things today. Now, so he made a lot of changes. He went in there fast and hard. It kind of sounds not to genius level IQ, but just the going, and you know what you want, and you may jump into it a little too fast before your finances could catch up, right? And I think that's what he did. He jumped in too fast, changed a lot of stuff before his finances could catch up. So in 1879, he had to sell that Old Fire Copper Distillery to a guy that we all know called George T. Stagg. We probably don't know him, but we know his bourbon. Another bourbon that honors another man. Uh, anyway, so he does he sells it in 1879. Now, without getting into a lot of that the stuff, because I think it's in the other episode, George T. Stagg and Colonel E.H. Taylor worked together for a time. And by 1881, E.H. Taylor had built his Warehouse C, the famous Warehouse C, right? So it was built in 1881, and that kind of was the finishing touch to what he envisioned his distillery to look like, even though he didn't own it. Okay, because he sold it George T. Stagg, but he got that warehouse built, Warehouse C. And today, all these bottles, this is your small batch, your barrel proof, your single barrel, all the E.H. Taylor line is honored because most of the barrels, not all, they say not all, but they say they try to pick barrels for this lineup from Warehouse C to honor Colonel Taylor, because that was his warehouse. So they try to pick barrels out of the Warehouse C for this. So they do have an E.H. Taylor called Warehouse C, and then they have a Tornado Survivor Warehouse C. Now those bottles bring a lot of money, but the Warehouse C bottles still cost a lot. But just so you know, most of the bottles that are in these products are from Warehouse C. I found it right there. It's easy to find, guys. Y'all can research that and find that too. Uh, but anyway, that's the Warehouse C. So, but it didn't take him long. Long story short, him and George T. they had a falling out, and basically George T. said, "I can't work with you no more." So it didn't take him long though. E.H. Taylor picked himself up, got back on his feet, went right down the road, and he bought a little place called, or he built a place called the Old Taylor Distillery. Uh, I remember correctly, it was destroyed in a storm. Yes, Bourbon Neophyte, that is correct. A tornado come through, ripped out most of the roof. They had barrels that sat outside for months, and they were good barrels still. I mean, the barrels didn't bust, but they just aged in the weather, not being under a roof. And so evidently it changed a lot. I'd love to taste one of those, but I could never afford one of those bottles, especially to drink it. But yes, they go for a lot of money. So it's kind of interesting what collectors like, what they are interested in. Because me, I would think, oh man, that may not be any good because it's been sitting outside. Who sits a barrel outside, and lets the weather hit it and everything else? But anyway, so it's interesting to see what the collectors like. I'd like to know if it is good. The bottles are marked Tornado Batch. Yes, they are. It's got it right on the label too. Got it right on the label there. I don't know if these are different, if the canisters are different or not, but it is on the later. And the only reason I know that is because I look at pictures when I'm Googling these auctions and my eyes get real big and I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming of this bottle. And I just look at the pictures, but I never buy them because I like to drink them. So in 1887, I told you he went down the road. He built Old Taylor Distillery in 1887. Now, we know Old Fire Copper Distillery is now Buffalo Trace. Well, the Old Taylor Distillery that he built in 1887, that is now Castle and Key Distillery. Okay. So, and that is a tour, guys. If you all have not been to Castle and Key, that is one I highly recommend. Uh, Excellent. It's excellent marketing. You're right on that. And that's where I say Buffalo Trace doesn't tell you everything because they are some marketing geniuses. And you know it and I know it, especially being from around here. Now you can buy H. Taylor from the new Warehouse C, and it's sell for a lot of money, and it isn't what most people believe it is. Oh,
Oh,
and I would honestly believe that too, because I would hate to pay that much money and then it not be good.
be worth drinking.
Oh, and maybe he's saying that they're thinking it's like the tornado survivor because it's marked
Okay.
warehouse C, but it isn't. So the one that's marked, so right here on this label, like right under where this says single barrel, instead of saying single barrel, that would say warehouse C tornado survivor.
Mm.
So if it's not on that label as a tornado survivor, it is not a tornado survivor. So if you're looking for one and you see one that says warehouse C, does not mean it's a tornado survivor. The label will say tornado survivor on the warehouse C. Exactly, yeah. So I knew what you was talking about. Uh, anyway, so 1887, he built a distillery. All right, Old Taylor Distillery. He didn't just build a distillery. This man was 100 years ahead of his time. He built a modern day 2025 distillery. He built a castle. All right. So he built the place that everybody wants to come. Everybody wants to go see Castle, right? I mean, it's cool. Where does Castle come from? So he builds a castle, but he doesn't just think, well, I'm going to make bourbon here. He works with the railroad company to drive a line right through there. So people have to stop at the distillery. It is a normal stop. So the railroad company doesn't just go through like a bus stop. You know, if you're sitting at a bus stop and there's nobody there, city bus is going to come up. It may slow down. They'll see nobody. It may leave, or maybe they have to stop every time. Well, this train had to stop at that distillery every time it went by there. And passenger trains, that's how people got around back then. And he had the railroad company stop it right at the distillery. Why'd he do that? Because people could get off, they could go in. Now, what do you think they did back then? I mean, today we think, oh man, we could go have some drinks. That's what they did. They went in, they had drinks. He gave free samples of his products. He sold merchandise. He gave tours. He had events, this place. So it was just your modern day distillery, but back in 1889. And it was pretty, I can imagine it being pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, but the most important thing, he built two distilleries, or well, he bought one, rebuilt it, and then he built one from the ground up. He built two distilleries. But the most important thing, guys, is probably what he did for the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. So he was a banker and a politician before he got into bourbon. So he knew kind of a lot of these things. He knew a lot of people. But he worked and he petitioned for the Bottled and Bond Act so he could have some regulations to guarantee the purity of the product that people were getting. Because back then, bourbon was sold by barrels, right? And you had people called rectifiers. We don't really call them rectifiers today. I don't really hear the term rectifier much. What I hear now today is sourced. And if you look behind me, and if you watch February, fake it till you make it February, those are all non distilling producers. Well, most of your non distilling producers, I believe they fit right in there to being classified as a rectifier. All right, because they source bourbon that someone else has made, they buy it, they take it, they bottle it, they put their own label on it and sell it as theirs. All right, but somebody else made that. Now, there are some contract distilling that goes on. I don't know if that can be a rectifier because when you contract distill, you go to a distiller and you say, hey, I want you to make this for me. And you give them a recipe. You may give them the yeast. You may tell them the barrel that they want to use. You may tell them everything. And they do it the way you want it. So you're paying for that particular product. If you're just the sourcer, you're just going in and you're buying the barrels that, like Buffalo Traces, ran too many. Maybe they don't fit their flavor profile. Maybe they just got too many to put in their warehouse, too much like 4-year-old or 6-year-old bourbon. And you go and you buy that barrel, you take it, you bottle it, you put your sticker on it, and you say, "Hey, this is my bourbon now." And that's what it is. And that's what a rectifier did. Way back then, before the Bottled and Bond Act, rectifiers may not have been that honest about it. So one rectifier may go and he may buy a barrel of bourbon and it's only 2 years old. Okay. He may taste it and it may not be ready. He may store it in his warehouse or something until it ages a couple years. Then he may bottle that and try to sell it, label it, sell it. Okay. And then other rectifiers may buy 4-year-old bourbon and sell it as a 4-year-old bourbon and go on. And they may do it the right way. But back then, more often than not, and this is why it was so important the Bottled and Bond Act come along, because back then they weren't so trustworthy. They would go buy a barrel that maybe hadn't been set in 6 months. All right. And they take it and they get the top off of that barrel and they throw tobacco spit in it. They throw prune juice in it, anything to make that bourbon look old. They may throw rusty nails in it to make it taste stringent or something, like you're getting all that alcohol. Then they bottle it and then they sell it. They might sell it with their label, or they might try to copy some of your labels and put on it. Because if you looked at some bottles back then, most of it's just like a white label with maybe some handwriting on it. So they may do that, and they may try to sell your product, sell that like it's your product instead of their product. So there was a lot of fishy stuff, a lot of bad stuff going on back then. And he wanted to put a stop for it because he said it was giving bourbon a bad name. And it was probably driving the industry down. I mean, people were getting sick. Some people were dying buying this bad, cheaper bourbon. All right. So he did that. And that got passed in 1897. And that was probably the most important thing that he did. Now let's jump down a rabbit hole with me. All right. We talked, I kind of did it a little bit sooner than I planned to. But if you go down the rabbit hole of a Kentucky kernel, we talked about they don't have to be from Kentucky. Thought they did. But here are some famous Kentucky kernels that you all may know. And we'll start with the one that I even put up.
He's going to the store, so he's gonna clock.
Going to the store, pick up some fixings for dinner. Cheers. All right, Bourbon Neophyte. We'll talk to you later, man. Thanks for tuning in. So it is the highest honor. It's a lifetime appointment. You have to have a noteworthy accomplishment and service to your community, state, or nation, right? Well, if you all remember the question, 18 years old, got nominated, got put in, got his Kentucky colonelship, then went and won the U.S. Golf Amateur Championship that same week. Tiger Woods, if y'all didn't know that. So Tiger Woods is a Kentucky colonel. Here are some other Kentucky colonels that you all may know. We already said Harlan Sanders. Everybody knows him as just basically Colonel Sanders, all right, or Mr. KFC. Muhammad Ali. You can imagine that one. And those are both Kentucky residents, right? George Clooney, another Kentucky resident. All right. Then you got Elvis Presley. So Elvis comes in there, and that's where it got me. Hey, is he from Kentucky? So then I had to go down the Elvis Presley rabbit hole. And if you all don't know, I used to be one of the biggest Elvis fans, and I still love Elvis today. I'm not a big fanaholic, but I still love Elvis today. So I got off on the Elvis Presley kind of rabbit hole and went away. But Elvis Presley, he is Mario Andretti for you IndyCar fans. And for you Kentucky fans, bad game today, I guess. Didn't quite win, but that's all right. But here's one that you all will love. So you all probably know a guy named Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight. Love him or hate him, he's a Kentucky. All right. Then you got Ronald Reagan, George Bush. This computer is off a little bit, and it's cutting off half of my.
Well, it says
half of my
I
thing.
guess Kentucky stinks.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, we stink. I guess the
EWE,
the E's on. All right, so George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Dolly Parton, Ringo Starr, Bill Murray, Ashley Judd, Johnny Depp. Right? I think everybody knows them. And then this one surprised me. Oh, John Paul II. He's a Kentucky Colonel, or was. I think he's passed. I don't know.
Mhm.
Uh,
AJ.
AJ Foyt, is he Kentucky Colonel? See, I didn't get to him. I just wrote down some of the quick ones because there were some I didn't want to write down. But AJ Foyt, I was a big AJ Foyt fan back when too. He was number 14. I think that's why I had number 14 for sports all through college or all through school. All right. So that's it with the history, guys. I hope it didn't bore y'all too much.
That was good. I didn't know about all the.
Well, I didn't know about the
Kernels.
Kentucky Colonel stuff, and that was something I didn't talk about during the first small batch.
Yeah.
All right, but let's talk about the barrel proof bourbon that we're going to do today. Don't forget Old Kentucky ABA franchise, the Colonels. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the ABA, the American Basketball Association Colonels.
There you go.
I actually don't even follow them, Peter. So I don't. Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, yeah.
There's so many.
And there is so many guys because if you want to go read them all, you can. There's over 350,000 Kentucky Colonels.
Oh my God.
But I don't know when the first Kentucky Colonel was, but it started way back in the 1800s. So anyway, there you go. And it actually started, I think it started in 1895 because before 1895, it was actually an Army rank. They could nominate you as Kentucky Colonel, and you had a military rank of a colonel. In 1895, that changed. It is no longer a military rank. It was just a civil rank.
Yes, someone who has done something for the community.
Big Artis Gilmore. I don't know that. So here we go. E.H. Taylor, barrel proof, right? So this is a barrel proof E.H. Taylor. It's 127.3 proof. Every barrel that goes in here, it doesn't have an H date. But it said every barrel went in here was 6 to 9 years old. Okay. Most barrels, they say, are 7 to 8 years old, but anywhere between 6 and 9, even though it doesn't have an age statement. Most barrels that go into any of these come from warehouse C. So if you're getting a single barrel of this, it's coming from warehouse C, even though it doesn't say warehouse C. So when you all see that warehouse C on there, man, don't go wasting your money on that big bottle because they're all coming from warehouse C.
ABA says they're all long gone.
Yeah, all the warehouse C ones are all long gone. I know the tornado survivors are.
It's saying the ABA.
Oh, okay.
They're
America, okay. They're all long gone.
Yeah.
Warehouse final piece of his vision. So this uses mash bill number 1, which is the low rye mash bill. It says so all that you know how secretive Buffalo Trace is or Sazerac Company is with their mash bills, right? So mash bill number 1, it's the low rye, which means it's less than 10%. But if you all want to work with AI and you all want to believe AI, I like looking for the mash bills because I just want to know. It ain't like I can recreate it, and I can explain that in a minute. And I don't know why they won't tell you the mash bill, okay? Because I can explain that in a minute. But AI says their mash bill, and I mean I go through a zillion different things to try to find mash bills when they don't tell you. But AI says the mash bill is 89 corn, 7 rye, and 4 malted barley. That's what
slow rye
AI says it is. That is not what Buffalo Trace says it is. So that is not, don't take that to heart and say that is what it is. But would it really matter if they told us what the mash bill was? Because everything that's made with mash bill 1, here you go. Buffalo Trace, the regular Buffalo Trace, made with mash bill 1. E.H. Taylor products, Eagle Rare products, made with mash bill number 1. This doesn't taste nothing like Eagle Rare. They are not comparable. All right. Stag, little stag here. Mash bill number 1. George T. Stag, the expensive bottle. Mash bill number 1. Benchmark, the little cheap bottle. Mash bill number 1. And Old Charter, mash bill number 1. So it doesn't matter. Those are all the same mash. So what makes the bourbon different? If you put it, so they could tell us the mash all day long. We could not replicate their bourbon with knowing their mash. That's why these other bourbon places don't care to tell you. They put it on the bottle sometimes, exactly what's in there, because you can't replicate that. But anyway, here's what makes the difference in all those, because they're all made at the same place. Here's what's different: the age. So how long it ages in the barrel. What warehouse you put it in. So warehouse C is different from warehouse H, is different than warehouse I. All those taste different. And you can have two in the same warehouse side by side that'll taste different. Do you know why? Because the wood in the barrels is different. It's from different trees. So there's different levels of stuff in the wood. Uh, where are you located in the warehouse? Is it up high? Is it down low? Because they don't rotate their barrels. They put them in there, and that's where they are for life. All right. So that makes a big difference. What proof you bottle the bourbon at. So how much water you adding in it? You making it 80 proof, you're going to make it taste different. You putting it at 90 proof. These the small batch, and I believe the single barrel are all bottled in bond. So we know they're 100 proof. That's down at the bottom of the label. So the proof it goes into the bottle. I already talked about the barrels itself. And then here's the other thing, guys. My taste, my producer's taste, and your taste out there is different. They have expert tasters that taste these barrels and say, hey, this one should be in the EH small batch. Hey, this one should be an Eagle Rare. And that makes a big difference. So I really wish they would put out those mash bills, because you can't replicate it. It ain't like anybody can steal their recipe and make their bourbon. But anyway, that's what I got. So let's get to tasting. I've got two glasses here. I guess Rye's not going to make it for anything, so he's here. So it's going to be a traditional bottle dump. Go ahead and move these. If y'all can see, my single barrel's gone. I didn't do a show on my single barrel, but I am going to tell you, I consider myself a single barrel guy because I like the difference that I like. It's great. It's straight. I like the difference that some of those single barrel brings. Now, single barrel, when you get with a line like this, a famous line, you want them to be pretty consistent. But you and I know that every single barrel we taste is going to be different. And why? Because we just talked about a lot of that, how it is. Here you go, produce. You can enjoy with me. So I consider myself a single barrel guy. I also consider myself a higher proof guy. Mm-hmm. I believe all E.H. Taylor is bottled in bond with the exception of the barrel proof. Think you're right, Corey, because every one of them that I saw was bottled in bond, but these are the only three that I've ever had. So I can't speak for anything else. But I will tell you this. So if you're looking at getting a single barrel or a small batch, I thought the small batch was better than the single barrel. Okay. I enjoyed the single barrel. It was good, but I would have ranked the small batch better. And this barrel proof, you can see I'm almost done with the bottle, and this will be empty by the time this show's over, I'm sure. But the barrel proof, I was on the same page. I enjoyed the the small batch better than the barrel proof. So I don't know what it's going to taste like today. It's been a while since I hit this bottle, because when we got it down here to the bottom, I said, don't drink no more. We've got to do a show on that, because these bottles are kind of hard to find. But if you've been noticing this year, there's been a lot of bourbon drops this year, and I haven't heard anything about them. So it's not been like big rollout new stores, big bourbon drops. But when I walk into a store, sometimes these are on like the allocated counter, and they're sitting there for you to buy if you're one of the first few, because they only get 3 or 4, but they're not saying anything about them, so they're just sitting there until somebody picks them up. Uh, which is how I just got this one today. Yep. Just like that, by walking into a liquor store, and it was there. No bourbon drop, no nothing. Uh, but anyway, so I'm hoping that this one is a little bit, because I consider myself single barrel proof guy. But the small batch of E.H. Taylor is so daggone good, I guess. I don't know. I watched our episode too, the last one with E.H. Taylor. It was one of our early episodes there. I watched it before I did this, and me and Ryan both liked it. Okay, I'm big time green apple. That's the fruit I smell, and then I get the normal. I get an alcohol burn in there. I get the alcohol smell. I don't get like
I don't get the alcohol smell.
I get a little bit of caramel, but I mean I can smell that this one smells like a high proof bourbon. Now I know it's 127.3, but I like to try to get 3 out of here for you guys, and it's apple, it's sweetness, it's caramel.
It's a warm smell.
You like the warm, and see,
Well,
I think
it's warm
I think
smell.
that's the
It's
vapor I'm getting now. Did wake up with a big stopped up nose and stuff today, so it could be a little bit different on that. So I'm gonna do my sips, guys. This is gonna be the awkward time. Hmm. When I'm sipping and allocating, you all sip and allocate more than you already have.
it does have a little tingle to it, just a little one.
So you can get done. Court said done. For sipping and allocating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought this the first time, I guess the first uh 127.3 proof, not the highest proof that I've ever had.
No, but you
But
can
I've had
tell it's a good warm Kentucky hug.
it's got that warm hug, but I think it drinks hotter than the
It does.
127.3 proof.
I can feel it
Uh,
on the back of my tongue.
and I've had some, well, this one right here is a higher proof. These stags are, and they're so much smoother. Funny thing, what I just mash bill number one, mash bill number one.
Right.
And they drink a lot smoother than these. These, when you drink these, you know it's a high proof. When you're drinking these, sometimes they don't taste as high proof as they are, so you got to be careful.
But I don't know. I kind of like to know that I'm drinking proof I'm drinking.
You like to know. I like a smooth. Uh, I'm expecting a little bit of heat. This one is and then this one's not like crazy,
No.
but it just when it's got that heat, the taste goes away, and all I feel is the heat. Now, and when I consider one smooth, you can tell it's got the heat, but it also has that flavor and stuff. It's like a big flavor
I
bomb,
can get
and it's like that flavor's just kind of burning into you.
it
This one,
is, but I still can taste the brown sugars. I can taste what else I'm getting. Maybe it's the green apple with the brown sugars in it, like the caramelized apples. Maybe that's what I'm getting.
so with me, the fruitiness, the apple isn't there. Um, I can taste I taste a little bit of the char, which I like. That's good for me.
A little bit.
Uh, this one's more like maybe a cinnamon toast made in the oven. Like you take your
Yeah,
toast,
maybe
put
that's where I
pats of
get the
butter
brown
on the
sugar.
toast.
Yeah.
Put those pats of butter on the toast. You got that cinnamon sugar mix. You sprinkle it on there, and then you put it in the oven. Not that cinnamon toast that goes in the toaster, and then you spread butter on it,
Yeah.
and then hit that.
The
Sorry,
good
guys.
kind like I
And
like.
then hit that. This is the one
Yeah.
that bakes in the oven, and it's got that soft bread. You get that soft bread, but the cinnamon and sugar flavors.
I guess that's where the brown sugar.
So it's nothing that I smelled, except for a little bit of the barrel.
I smelled caramel. I did smell a little caramel.
I smell caramel, but I'm not tasting caramel.
Right.
I'm tasting cinnamon sugar bread.
Yeah, the brown
And then
sugar.
I taste some of that barrel, that smoky barrel. And I guess when I start tasting smoky barrel, I'm 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 tasting like uh, um, marshmallow. And I've done that for like 2 or 3 bourbons now. I get that toasted that big
marshmallow.
barrel, and I get that toasted marshmallow taste. And so I'm kind of finishing
The kind with the
with that.
char on it. The marshmallow that's got that char on it. And
Yes.
you eat it. Yes.
Yes, and that's the flavors I'm getting, guys. So it's very good.
It is good.
My smell and my flavors were very different, but this is a good bourbon. The thing
It does
that
warm you from
makes
the
it,
inside out.
yeah, the thing that makes this one not as good for me as the small batch is that the small batch, it is so smooth and it carries that flavor throughout. This one to me, when I first put it in, I get that cinnamon toast, that fresh bread, that cinnamon toast kind of thing, and then that proof hits,
Yeah.
which it stands out, it jumps out at you. The proof does. It comes out at you, and when it comes out, I kind of lose all those flavors for a minute until the
It just
finish.
settles and
And
you
then
let
when
it
I
sit.
get the finish, I get that barrel or that roasted marshmallow.
Yeah.
But it's a good bourbon. But for me, now, I guess one day I'm going to have to do a blind of the E.H. Taylor products
Yes.
because just from my thought and my memory, now it's been a while since I've had a small batch, but from my thoughts and my memories, that small batch was better than both the single barrel and the barrel proof.
You know, now that it sits on my palate for a minute after I've drunk it, I can taste yeast. I can taste the
You got
yeast
that
in it.
yeasty taste, but
Uh-huh.
that to me, that may be the breaded
The
taste
bread,
that I
yeah.
was that fresh bread.
Yes. Yes. Very much.
Do you have enough to put water in?
I don't.
Do you want some more to put water in?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna proof it down a little bit there, guys, and let's see what that does for the flavors. Willing to bet single barrel would come out on top in on a blind taste. So
Yeah.
Corey likes the single barrel,
He thinks it would come out on top. Yeah.
and it may, and maybe I just got a bad barrel. But I'll tell you, Corey.
Get a bad barrel. That's
So
still a good bourbon.
so half of that, so that single barrel, and this is something that was held against it. It wasn't a fair battle because we had a stag. We had one of these bottles here uh, before we had the single barrel. And I don't know what y'all's feeling is on this, but that day, that trip, that vacation that we had this stag, this was an incredible bottle. And so to follow it up with another good bottle, I thought,
yeah,
I go a 5 on it.
I got 5 on it.
I
Yeah.
got 5 on it. But to follow it up with another good bottle, which I thought was another good bottle, it didn't compare to the stag. Uh, and those were one after another, not really side by side, not really blind, but
No.
they were one after another. And it was a little bit different. So only about half the single barrel got home. But maybe in my mind, I already had that it wasn't good enough
Because you had it right
because
after
I
the
had
stag.
it right after that stag.
Yeah.
So a blind tasting
Yeah.
is what I'm going to have to do. When you do a blind, guys, I love to do blind tasting. That
You
is
get
like
proven wrong a lot.
that's my thing, and I do get proven wrong. Like my mind, what I think and what actually happens is so
Totally
different.
Yeah.
Not all. Sometimes I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I have no expectations, but sometimes when I put the bourbons that I love in blinds, I get really surprised. So I will at some point, maybe just a video, not a live, but on a video, I'll do a blind of the barrel proof versus the single barrel versus the small batch. It won't be anytime soon. But when I get them and I do them, I'll do it like that, and then I'll know for sure. Uh, so anyway, let me get to I guess talking with my mouth full. Okay. Uh,
Did you smell it to see if it smelled different?
I think my sniffer's off today. I
Did
think
you?
where it was stopped up north because I'm getting
Okay.
I smell more alcohol than anything,
Okay.
and I don't think that's a fair assessment of this.
Okay.
So just forget my sniffer on the water. With it, I'm sorry, with it proofed down, I do get some fruitier notes.
Okay.
I do get that apple back in there, and more of a caramel apple. Uh, then in the middle where I lost the flavors before without the water, that's where I start getting the bready cinnamon kind of toast. Okay. And then it's a lighter finish now, so I don't get the roasted marshmallow. I just get kind of a smoky note toward the end. Uh, I like it better neat.
Yeah.
But
Did it take away the warmth, the heat?
it took away a lot of the heat.
Okay.
So I think if you put this on the rocks or added water, you take away all that heat. The thing is that I think the flavor up front with that fresh bread, butter, cinnamon toast up front, that was the flavor that I thought I liked the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I lost it a little bit because the heat hit my tongue and started taking away all the
Mm-hmm.
flavor. And then I got that roasted marshmallow at the end,
Yeah.
which I thought was nice. This one here, you get more fruity notes at the front. Then it kind of gets into that toast, but
Smoky
it's
and
not as good.
okay.
The toast doesn't come out as much. You got to search for that. And I didn't like that as much. I want it to jump out at me. And then it comes to just like a smoky, just kind of a little smoky note. I like it better neat. Uh, and I think I kind of just described it back
Yeah.
to everybody, so
Yeah.
I don't need to repeat that.
Okay.
This one here, it's a hard to find bottle, and like I said, without the blind, I'm going to say I would get the small batch when I could and stick to it. These bottles are higher priced. They are good bottles. They're good to share. They're good to say, hey man, I finally found one.
Yeah.
They're kind of that kind of thing. Uh, but as far as just great flavor, I'm going to stick with that small batch. Now I do want to do a blind to figure all that out. But this one is a good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like it better than the single barrel.
Mm.
And Corey's going to get on me because he thinks the single barrel is the best. But I think I like this one better than the single barrel. But I like the small batch the best. And then with all that, I think I'm going to give this like an 8.2.
Really?
Yeah, what'd you think?
I didn't go that high at
What'd
all.
you win? You didn't go high at all.
No.
What'd you go with?
I went with the 6.4.
A 6.4. Whoa, you're way low.
Yes.
So our producer, shocking 6.4 today on the barrel proof.
And Ryan would probably be upset because he would say that is
Ryan does like the names.
well, he would probably get upset. Uh, agree with him. Yeah, I don't know.
Agree with Emmy. All right, so Corey's low on the barrel proof.
Yeah, he said it always disappoints him.
That always
Yeah,
disappoints. And the disappointing thing with me is that the middle of it, the
yeah,
middle. The initial taste and the end is fine. It's that middle sitting on your tongue. It's doing nothing but tingling my tongue.
yeah.
I don't get flavors, but it's still,
I get a few, but like you said, it's kind of just hit and miss, hit and miss, hit and miss.
to me though, it's so good on the front and so good on the finish. It still gets that 8.2. So and maybe I'm looking at the name, and maybe I'm overranking. Maybe I'm looking at the price, thinking it's supposed to be
It
better than
should be
this.
that. Yeah,
Maybe I'm looking at all that stuff, the history and everything, and saying this bottle's got to be at least an 8.
yeah.
Maybe I am. So that's why blinds are so
Yes,
important to figure out what you like and what you don't like. So, foolproof hunter, cheers all. Welcome,
absolutely.
welcome. I hope you all, like I said, guys. I miss my co-host.
Yeah,
I miss Ryan. This is
yeah.
4 episodes in a row that Ryan has not been on.
I thought it was only the third one.
4 episodes in a row. And he is a busy young man, and he can't make it here every Friday. But thought that he was going to make it tonight, or I would have had another co-host. My producer would not co-host with me at the last minute, so it was just me. I hope you all still enjoy the show. I know it ain't as funny or comical when Ryan's not with me,
It was good.
or
Good
Gene Boy,
history.
or any of the other co-hosts I may have. But it is this is something I love to do. Love to drink with you guys. Love to be your drinking buddy, and love to share some bourbon and if y'all can figure out where I am, just come over to the house on Friday nights and you'll have some bourbon. If you can't figure out where I am, ask somebody that may know.
Tune in though.
Yeah, but always tune in. Always tune in so I can be your drinking buddy.
Like,
And
follow.
like, follow, tell your friends, share some videos. And I'm trying to wrap this up, but I don't know how Ryan does it. I do appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. I appreciate all the comments. I do love the comments.
Yes.
I love to hear y'all's thoughts, even if we don't agree. Uh, so I do love all that stuff. But every Friday, 6 o'clock live. There's no
Eastern
reason to
Standard
drink
Time.
alone, guys, because you can drink with us. So we'll see you all next time. I hope that was a good enough sign off. I'm trying to end this stream. Let's see if I can figure it out.
Bye, everyone.
Hold on.
Oh.